Selling a house is, I think, one of the most stressful experiences a person can go through. And so we try to make sure that we are reliable and always able to do exactly what we're saying we're going to do.
What would you say has been one of the most challenging seasons you've faced?
I think it would have to be COVID. We were only sort of 2 years old when COVID hit, and there was just so much uncertainty during that period. Working with a big company like that, everyone's got their roles, and I knew what my role was and I was able to do it. I was very confident in it. But when you go into owning your own business, and I say this to anyone looking to open a business, you might be really good at a thing. So styling and the customer relationships and sales and those sorts of things was my area of expertise. But when you open your own business, all of a sudden you need to do accounts and forecasting and social media and marketing and team management. And there's this whole other part of running a business, which is so important, but not necessarily where your skills lie.
Welcome to Behind the Design, a podcast where we unfold the details behind the designs we know and love and explore how each project comes to life. I am Camilla Ingall, owner of Unfolded, an interior design and styling studio. In this podcast series, we dive into the details with our industry experts, covering topics such as the creative process, latest design trends, and how we, as an industry, work together to meet the brief and overcome challenges. Let the conversation begin. Welcome back to Behind the Design, a podcast that goes beyond the finished spaces and into the people, processes, and stories behind them. I'm your host, Camilla Ingall, interior designer and founder of Unfolded. Today, I'm joined by someone who has played a pivotal role in my own journey, Amy Smith, founder of Huntley Co. Amy built her experience as a head stylist at Advantage Styling before going on to start and lead her own Sydney-based furniture hire business, Huntley Co., working across homes, preparing them for market. Amy and I met 11 years ago. She interviewed me for my very first property styling role, so sitting here today feels very full circle. Furniture hire is one of those parts of the industry people don't fully understand. It sits somewhere between styling, logistics, and business. There's a huge amount that goes into it, from buying and managing stock to understanding how pieces will work across different homes, clients, and spaces. And what's interesting about Amy's business is that it's not styling in the traditional sense. It's supporting stylists and designers with the tools they need to bring these spaces to life. Amy, welcome to Behind the Design.
Thank you for having me here today.
It's good to have you on. So Amy, let's start at the beginning. You interviewed me 11 years ago for my first property styling role.
Yeah, wow.
What do you remember from those early styling days at Advantage?
The industry feels very different now to what it was then. I feel like 10 or 11 years ago, there were just a handful of styling companies that were out there. And there's so many more people in the business now. And it's much more recognised, I think, by real estate agents. Mm-hmm. It's something that you have to do now as opposed to just a nice to have for, the high-end properties. So, yeah, the whole industry's changed a huge amount.
Absolutely. And so 10 or 11 years ago. And then how long had you been at Advantage?
I started there, I think it was back in 2004 or 2005. So, yeah, over 20 years now I've been working in this industry, which is wild.
Yeah. You were at Advantage, which was formerly known as, Navari,
yes,
but formerly known as Advantage Styling.
Yes.
You were there for how many years then?
I think all up it was about 13.
13 years before starting your own furniture hire company.
Yes.
So what shifted that launch for you from working with Navari into Huntley Co?
Yeah, it was interesting. So the whole industry from when I very first started, where we were sort of educating real estate agents as to why you needed to style a house for sale, there are a lot of people still of the mindset like throw a cake in the oven and put a pot of coffee on and that's enough to sell your house. So in the early days, there was a lot of education as to why it is so important and the difference it can make. And then I think as real estate agents started seeing the huge results that they were getting, it became more and more, I guess, mainstream in a way that you had to be styling. Otherwise, you were going to be behind everyone else that was on the market. And at the same time, there were shows like The Block popping up and more awareness of presentation. And so the industry sort of really evolved throughout that time. So there was originally just sort of 5 or 6 big styling companies in Sydney. And those companies had, I guess, different type of stylists within them. There was the senior stylists who were going out and quoting and customer facing with the real estate agents. Then there were the on-site stylists who were doing the actual installs, and then sometimes there was a styling team in the warehouse as well. So those bigger companies sort of had everything in-house. But I could see that there was a bit of a shift for independent stylists that were popping up that loved the styling side of things but didn't want the logistics side. So I was coming across more and more of them as I was quoting and sort of meeting people out in the quotes. And so I could see there was a bit of a shift in the industry, and I guess that's where the whole concept for Huntley Co came around.
And I do remember, because you and I were both senior stylists.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a process of how it had to go.
Yeah.
And I do remember a couple of times when we would hear these external stylists, if we call them that, would come in and, we'd have a chat and be like, oh, no, we don't really want them to be, because there would be a bit of not a conflict of interest, but a bit of
sort of is.
Yeah, it sort of is.
Yeah, if you're hiring your stock to an external stylist and then you've also got it for your internal stylist, everyone's going to want the shiny new toys.
Yeah. So you saw that gap.
Yeah. And it was along with one of the owners of Advantage that we sort of recognised that you wouldn't want it to sit under the same brand because of that conflict. And so there was a potential opening in the market to offer a solution for stylists that's not competing with an in-house company.
Yeah.
And, that's where the concept all sort of started.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Was it about the type of client or the aesthetic direction or the scale or something more internal that sort of led you to opening Huntley Co?
Yeah. Look, I think I'd been in the industry for a long time. As I said, I think it was 13 or 14 years I'd been with Advantage or Navari. It was still Advantage when I was there.
Yeah.
And although the role had evolved a lot in the time, the industry had evolved a lot in that time, I sort of wanted to do something different. I had 2 kids, and it was after maternity leave with my second that the idea of Huntley started being thrown around, and, trying to identify that there was a bit of a gap in the market for servicing independent property stylists and giving them beautiful product with an easier system. So it was more I guess I had a bit of an internal itch to do something different, but I felt so passionate about the industry and I had so much experience from working in it for so long. I didn't want to work away from the industry, but just have a bit of a different angle that I could come at it with. So,
and you'd seen so much too.
Yes. Yeah.
So you kind of see in that time, correct me if I'm wrong, what works and what doesn't work, and then how to execute that.
Yeah. I think I bore my kids as I drive around the streets of Sydney. I'm like, I've styled that house, I've styled that house, I've styled that house.
I know this street. 3 houses.
But 14 years of styling, you see a lot of property in that time.
That's it.
Yeah.
We look at the dynamic of working for someone or a big business for quite a while, then transitioning into owning your own.
Yeah.
How did that transition play out for you?
It's a completely different skill set, I guess, because working with a big company like that, everyone's got their roles, and I knew what my role was and I was able to do it. I was very confident in it. But when you go into owning your own business, and I say this to anyone looking to open a business, you might be really good at a thing. So styling and the customer relationships and sales and those sorts of things was my area of expertise. But when you open your own business, all of a sudden you need to do accounts and forecasting and social media and marketing and team management. And there's this whole other part of running a business, which is so important, but not necessarily where your skills lie. No. So there was a huge amount of growth and learning and feeling well and truly outside of my comfort zone, but relying really heavily on people around me. I think there's a great line about, surround yourself with people who are more experienced than you are so you can learn from them. And I just took it all in those early days and really had to learn, how a business works and the mechanics behind it all.
And you've always come across as someone who's, to me, quite confident, but also quite humble, and I think it's a humbling thing to say, I don't know how to do this, but I will learn.
Yeah.
So that I can keep on with my vision.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like you did. Yeah. And you are still doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're always learning. No, you're always learning. There's always something new. There's always new systems or new technology or new ways of doing. Yeah.
I listened to an audiobook called The E-Myth. Have you heard of that one? I feel like you'd like it. It's goes into a lot around, owning businesses and whatnot. And not to be too like woo-woo around the word entrepreneurial, but at the same time, look, if you started something from scratch, you're essentially an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But it goes into typically, as you say, you go into a business with 1 or 2 skill sets, but you've then got to learn 8. And it talks about you're either the entrepreneur, the manager, or the technician.
Yeah, interesting.
As you step in.
Yeah.
And then you do need to then hire these other sort of roles to maintain a successful business.
Yeah.
And again, those technicians, because I can't be doing that as well as all these other things and managing staff. You know, I might need someone to help me with that. So it's also just honouring what you're good at too, as well as delegating to the people who have the skill sets.
Yeah, which is the luxury as
juggle.
well, because in the early days, the team was very small.
Yeah.
So we had to, it was myself and one other in the showroom who she's still with me now, which is lovely, Brooke.
Yeah. She's lovely.
But we had to do it all. So you have to sort of be able to do it all, but then as the business grows, be able to let go, which is a fine line as well, being able to sort of
it's
allow.
your baby.
Yeah, but know that, trust your people and that they know what they're doing. And, if you're always in the detail of the business or in the day-to-day of the business, then you can't stand back and have a bigger picture approach to it. So that's been a learning process as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did launching your own brand then, did that change the type of projects and clients you attracted?
Yeah, so my clients previously were real estate agents and vendors, so people who are selling their house. Whereas I'm now sort of one step back from that. My main client base is property stylists, so stylists who are then their clients are the real estate agents and the vendors. So, yeah, it's a very different client base. And I love our clients. We've got such a beautiful community of mainly women around us who are all creatives and, there's businesses at different scales with different sort of focuses, but they're just such a beautiful bunch of women to work with. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about the business now. Yeah.
And so your business does sit in an interesting space.
Yes.
And it, you and I have discussed how it can be a little bit misunderstood. So if you talk us through what Huntley Co actually is, how it differs from a traditional property styling service.
Yes. So we are essentially a hire company. So we provide all of the products, so furniture, art, rugs, lamps, decor, everything you'd need to style a house for sale or for a photo shoot. We look after all the logistics and the delivery and all of the sort of back of house side of the business. And then our clients are the ones who are going out and meeting with the agents, meeting with the vendors and styling the houses for sale. So essentially we're a hire service catering to predominantly stylists and interior designers. So the bulk of the work is for property styling. As I said, we do a bit with photo shoots. If there's a developer that's just built a beautiful new place and
display suites.
Yeah, maybe the designer or the architect wants to shoot it for their portfolio. We do a bit of work in that as well, but it is predominantly furniture for styling houses for sale.
Yeah. So then I guess you would find that the assumption is that the way that even your website looks and Instagram, it could seem that you do property styling or full styling services.
Yeah, we definitely get asked whether we're a styling company quite a bit. I guess there's 2 main categories of people that we rent to. The bulk of the business is definitely property stylists. We do hire directly to people who are wanting to style their own home for sale, but usually that's just they need to turn, the 4th bedroom into a bedroom instead of an office, or they need some new outdoor furniture. It's not the full
like
style.
Add-ons almost.
Yeah. Or it might be someone who's in a creative industry and's got a very, strong vision as to how they want their house to look. But mainly it's stylists who are hiring from us. And then we just, do a little bit with retail who are looking to style their own home.
Yeah, if we look at, stylists, interior designers, or a mix of both, how are these clients typically using these pieces across their projects?
Yeah, so usually it is to style a house for sale, and sometimes it's integrating furniture with the vendor's existing pieces. So it might be that, they just need to freshen up a few pieces, or there might be a sofa that's not looking its best, whatever it might be.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yes. And then other times it's completely empty. So it is really a bit of a mix of how people hire. A lot of the time it is the full house, down to rugs, lamps, art, all those bits that really make a property come to life. And I think those smaller details are so important. And that's where the stylists have such a great eye. And also, sort of differentiate their look a bit is by the accessories and artwork and things that they use. But it is predominantly houses for sale, but a combination of partial styles and complete styles from empty homes.
And a couple of photo shoots here and there.
Yeah,
for the stylists. Yeah. And so Huntley Co. then, your team doesn't actually have any involvement in any of the styling side of things.
We do have an in-house stylist who helps guide people as to what goes well together. So sometimes we get people who say, I love this sofa, can you recommend a coffee table? The retail clients need a little bit more hand-holding. So if someone's styling their own home for sale, they tend to need a bit more hand-holding. But we don't offer a service where we go out and consult and have a look at the house. So it's all sort of done in-house.
Yeah.
And then a lot of our stylists are very busy as well. So if they're needing to hire accessories, you would need to come into our showroom, which is in Lane Cove, and some of them don't have time to do that. So our in-house stylists can help sort of pull together accessory schemes. For the furniture, we've built this incredible website where you can select all the furniture online. And so
I've used that firsthand.
Yes. Whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning, which some of our clients like to get up and get going early, or, any time during the day you can do your your furniture selections, which is a huge time saver for our clients. That's I guess one of the pain points we tried to solve in the early days is that a lot of these stylists are, they're independent and time is everything. So we built a platform where you can select all the furniture online. With the accessories, it's a bit more of a touch feel. People want to look at the cushion and the vase. So we found that putting all the accessories online wasn't the right move, but we've kept all those in the warehouse in Lane Cove, and people can come in and select there, or our in-house stylist can help.
And I think, like you say, with the time saver, like I think of especially property styling days when you're on site all day.
Yeah.
So coming home and maybe, you had dinner and you put the kids to bed, you might just have a 2-hour window where you do just want to sit online and do that. So it's a really good business model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. And so when it comes to, how far you deliver, is it just New South Wales, or how are you?
Sydney-wise.
Sydney.
Yeah, we just focus in Sydney.
Yeah. I've always wondered, particularly in even Advantage, Navari days, buying the stock and knowing, okay, cool, this is trending, but is it timeless? How do you differentiate that? And who's in charge? Are you in charge, or?
So there's 2 of us who work on pulling all the range together. Yeah. And it's a big job. So in the very early days, I imported a whole lot of containers from overseas, and I custom designed a lot of that furniture. And the reason was sometimes with property styling, it all looks a bit the same. So I wanted to make sure that there were pieces that our stylists could use that were different from what else was on offer. And we've continued to design and import throughout the years. So we're working on our spring collection at the moment, which is very exciting. But it is a real balance between the trends that are out there. And, I know trends are a bit of a polarizing thing, and some people are for and some people are against. I think we're all somewhat influenced by trends.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you need to go and do your whole house in a particular style, but we do have to have those pieces that are current in the industry. But then our clients are styling brand new, beautiful builds that you can put, a beautiful brown sofa into. But they're also styling deceased estates where maybe a wall hasn't been painted in 30 years and
still wallpapered.
It's still wallpapered, yeah. So you've got to have a range that really can cater for all different styles of properties.
It's tricky.
Yeah. And that's, as the business has grown, the range has evolved. We've got some really great reporting metrics within the website where I can see what's the most popular pieces, and it's always changing, obviously, as, trends and tastes are changing. The stylists always love the new stock, so the shiny new toys always get selected first. But it is a bit of a balance between, you can't do everything that's the latest cutting edge because it's not going to work in all homes, but then you also need to have some of those pieces balanced with, I guess, slightly more timeless pieces to be able to suit, all sorts of different properties.
Yeah, and long term, not be constantly buying more.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we tend to do is if there's a piece that we're getting that's a little bit more out of the box, we might just get a lower quantity of it. And then generally the clients get a little bit more adventurous with artwork and cushions and things that are a bit more interchangeable.
Yeah.
I guess with property styling as well, it's a fine line between doing something that looks beautiful and isn't the same as every other property that's out there, but also isn't polarizing, because you're trying to get your buyers to fall in love with it. And if you do anything that's too out there, some people will love it and some people won't. So there is a fine line between creating personality and depth within the styling.
Point of difference almost.
And a point of difference, but also not going so far in one direction that it might turn people off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. And budgets and things?
Yeah, we've got to look at all of those sorts of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This episode of Behind the Design is brought to you by my interior design studio, Unfolded. We work across residential design and styling, creating spaces that are thoughtful, cohesive, and deeply considered. You can explore our work at unfolded.com.au. Yeah, I guess, off the back of that then, when you're selecting the different pieces, are you also sort of, given that our industry is so photographed?
Yes.
Do you find that you do select pieces on how they will photograph
as
well?
It's definitely a consideration.
Like it sounds so a surface level, but it matters, right?
Yeah. We were looking at some fabrics the other day, and there's lots of beautiful, chunky sort of tweed fabrics that are around at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're gorgeous in real life, but some of them don't photograph very well. They almost look a bit jarring in photos. So, it's definitely something that we need to consider as how a piece would photograph. Yeah.
And it can look so different in real life, as we know.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I remember learning, my property styling days, is how it feels when you walk through the home.
Yes.
You can appreciate it so much more than when half the time when it's photographed.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a great thing for a real estate agent, because as long as they get them in.
Yes.
Or a property stylist, either way, but getting someone into the home or the space, they can appreciate those textures, but sometimes they don't photograph well.
Yeah.
So it's like
It is a balance.
having to navigate that.
Yeah.
And so on a personal front, as the owner of Huntley Co, do you take personal risks on things that you love?
Yeah, look, in the early days, I remember the very first range that I brought in, this was 8 years ago, so obviously the trends are a bit different, but white linen sofas were everywhere.
They're pretty timeless.
They are. And I was thinking to myself, a white linen sofa for property styling that's not a good idea, but I think it'll look beautiful and photograph really well. Yeah. So we did bring in a heap of white linen sofas, and they performed really well. But it is a balance between what I love and then what's actually usable in the market as well. We consult a lot with our clients during the process of buying. So it's always great because everyone's got a different style and different aesthetic, but at the end of the day, we're buying for our clients to use. So that's a really fun process to sort of get the clients involved and, see what direction they're wanting to take the range in as well.
Love that. And is that, like I came to one of your lovely events where we had a guest speaker and we all sat around chatting about what we're doing. Is that the type of thing you do with your clients to get that feedback, or is it more of a one-on-one call? Or
that's a bit more of a one-on-one call. But those events that you mentioned, that's something that we started just after COVID times. We hold them sort of once a quarter. We call them Style Minds events, and we get different guest speakers to come in and talk to our clients about all sorts of different things. We've had Kerry Ann Jones came in and talked about trends. We had Steve Cordoni did the very first one. We've had people talk about social media and women's health and all sorts of things. And that was an initiative that we came up with because I realised that most of our stylists are working out in the field on their own. They've all got the same things going on. They're all facing the same challenges. But it can be quite lonely out there at times.
Solo.
Yeah. So we started bringing everyone together sort of 3 or 4 times a year with different guest speakers. We had one after spring. Spring's a really crazy time for our industry. And
peak season.
Yeah. And everyone I was speaking to was just so frazzled and burnt out. And this beautiful lady came in and talked about, ways to deal with stress and how to keep calm and
timely,
just how to look after yourself in the chaos of what's a pretty fast-paced industry. So that's something I'm really passionate about in what we do. I love having our community together and posting those events.
I love that. Yeah. And I love hearing as well, honouring how we need to show up personally, not just making sure that you got the in-stock items and it photographs well, and then you got more jobs coming in. Like, that's all great on a business front. But as you say, there are the stresses and there's the burnout and all the things that we go through behind the scenes, hence why I started this podcast, because I think
Yeah.
it's so important to talk about what we're actually experiencing to get to where we are.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
And I think sharing that again with another stylist just sitting on a
Yeah.
chair like I did,
Yeah.
where you can just relate,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
have someone else go, yeah, I literally just had that same thing last week.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Because I thought I was the only one.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're not compartmentalized that we're business people and then we have our personal lives. It's all the same, right? So
it impacts.
yeah.
everything.
So I feel like if you're looking after yourself on a personal front, your business is going to do really well, you know, but it has to be balanced as well.
100%.
So
Yeah.
it's been really lovely. We've had some incredible guest speakers come through and, you know, talk about all sorts of different things.
Yeah, Style
Yeah.
Minds. Love that. I do remember the name now because I only went to one.
Yeah.
So if we now jump into, you know, we touched on the website, social media, Instagram, etc. How do you manage all of that?
Yep.
And, you know, is that like another role in your business, or do
Yeah.
you still look after that side of things?
No, so we've got an in-house social media sort of content creator who looks after
Yeah.
all of that side of things.
Yeah.
And then someone who helps with marketing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, social media is such a big part of our industry because it's all visual. It's a platform where we can really show, I guess, people what we do. And a lot of people do find us through social media as well. Yeah.
Okay. And do you find, you know, when you are looking for inspiration, say, you know, you're not able to probably fly over to Milan anytime soon?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
We'd all love that. But how does that influence? Do you jump on Pinterest? How do you?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. I mean, I still love an old-fashioned magazine every now and then and flicking the
Same.
pages.
Yeah.
But Instagram, Pinterest, as I said, sort of talking to our clients to find out what they're interested in. Yeah, it's all of those platforms really help us to see what direction we're wanting to take the business in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are influential.
Yeah,
as
they
say.
really are. Yeah.
And so now, you know, if you're thinking about your warehouse as a whole,
Yeah.
what would you say is the balance between timeless and maybe trend-based?
Oof. That's a good question. Yeah, we've just launched a premium range recently, which is catering. We found that we were getting a calling for $10, $15, $20 million homes where the level of furniture that you're needing to put in them is just wild, and the amount of furniture you're needing to put in. So
From an expectation level.
yeah. So that's a new
Okay.
range that we've recently launched, which is just for our trade clients. And I guess
exclusive.
that is a bit more trend based, like that's more sort of current, but then some of it can go into more timeless places as well.
True.
So I don't know if I can give you a percentage split on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does sound like, you know, the fact that you've got both,
Yeah.
and you're making these really deliberate decisions on what you're buying. At the end of the day, it is sort of down to the stylist
Yeah.
to go, okay, I'm going to work on maybe, you know, the foundations of the lounge room, for example, the lounge and the rug,
Yeah.
and then the side table might be really trendy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
Yeah.
kind of balancing it out
Yeah.
in the job too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you can do things that are
Yeah.
a little bit more out there. We tend to find that more neutral sofas are more popular because they're such a big piece.
Yeah.
But then
And you
we're
can
doing
accessorize
some-
with cushions and
Yeah, we're doing some beautiful things with occasional chairs and side tables. I would love to have more stone side tables in the range, but they just are not great for property styling when they're being bumped in and out of houses every day. But we do have a few gorgeous stone accents. And then, really beautiful textural armchairs and occasional chairs, which just, I sort of bring the room to life, but in a not such an intense way as what
Yeah.
the sofa would be.
Yeah, it's like a subtle
Yes.
statement.
Yeah.
Even though that's a bit contradicting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, you probably need a lot of bubble wrap then for all your stone. Separate part of the warehouse.
Yeah.
So essentially, your role is to support other creatives.
Yeah.
And so how do you approach curating pieces that work across, the different styles, the clients, the briefs?
Yeah.
Are you constantly having conversations around like briefs with clients, or are you finding that they sort of just go off in their own little?
We really encourage our clients, if they see anything that they love, to let us know, because that helps us sort of see where their vision is for where things are going. But it's constantly evolving. We sort of bring in a spring collection every year where there's a large launch before spring because that's generally the busiest time of the year. But then we're always topping up throughout the year. So, there's lots of conversations with the clients as to where they feel they'd like to see some new pieces in the range, or, if there's particular gaps when they're quoting and they think, oh, I'd love to have this. So we do collaborate quite closely with our clients as to what they're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. And so what do stylists or designers need from you that may not be that obvious from the outside?
We sort of like to think of ourselves as an extension of our clients' businesses, because if their business is doing well, our business is doing well. So we really try and support them, I guess, holistically, which is where the Style Minds events sort of come from. Furniture and logistics obviously are really important, but I think just having that reliability that they're styling a house for a real estate agent, the real estate agent's got a photo shoot at a particular time. It's a very stressful time for a vendor. Selling a house is, I think, one of the most stressful experiences a person can go through because there's so much pressure at that time when clients are selling. Our stylists need to know that they've got a service that they can rely on, and we're able to help them deliver what they've promised that they will.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. And so what would you say makes a great relationship then between a stylist or a designer?
I think it's working in collaboration together is really important. As I mentioned before, not only in terms of stock, but, what other support they're sort of needing at the time. And we're lucky, the clients that we work with, we've worked with a lot of them for a very long time, and we've got a really good working relationship together. But it is that sort of collaborative. Yeah.
It does matter because I think even we're all, I'm a service base, you're a product base, I guess, but there's also service. So I think just owning our roles as that, but also you do need to honour and nurture the relationship with our clients, because it also builds trust as well. There's so much that it builds in that time. And like you say, they keep coming back to you for more jobs. So you're building that relationship over time as well.
In the early days as well, I think that there's always new stylists coming into the industry because it's an exciting industry to be in. And sort of for those clients, it's helping them understand a little bit about how the industry works and, I guess just giving them a bit of gentle guidance where they need it, if they want it, that is. And then for the more experienced stylists, it's that collaborative relationship of helping them, deliver what they promise they will.
Yeah. So even as the owner of Huntley Co, you sound like you're still quite hands-on.
Yes and no. I'm not involved in the day-to-day side of things anymore. But in terms of key clients and product development, that's where my joy space is. So I do really enjoy still having involvement with them, and being involved in that part of the business.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Love that. So as a whole, running a business can be physically demanding, logistically complex, particularly, with what you're doing day to day. And then there's the creative side of it.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been one of the most challenging seasons you've faced?
I think it would have to be COVID. We were only sort of 2 years old when COVID hit, and there was just so much uncertainty around, are we an essential service? Are we not an essential service? Can we be delivering? I was obviously sending my team into people's houses. So there was just a lot of uncertainty during that period. The property market went absolutely wild the next year and everything bounced back and, it was great. But the uncertainty of that period, which I think for a lot of businesses, it was chaos, but being so new as well, and having to ride a pretty significant storm in the early days was, it was definitely challenging.
Good way of describing it.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to your team and culture, how do you manage that in such a fast-paced environment?
Yeah, we've got a really beautiful team, and I'm lucky that a lot of them have been with me since the early days. So as the business has grown, there's been new roles that sort of pop up, and people's roles have become more focused on particular areas as opposed to being a bit more broad, which in the early days I feel like we wore all the hats. Everyone just wore all the hats, whereas now everyone's a little bit more in their lane as to what they do. Yeah. But I think everyone who works at Huntley Co is really passionate about the industry, which is a lovely thing. our accounts lady, used to be working in art galleries and art. So,
cool.
It's a real mix of people, but everyone loves being in a beautiful space and, working with the beautiful people that we do. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, it's like genuine interest.
Yeah.
It does make a difference.
Yeah.
And it shows up. It shows up
Yeah.
in the way that you perform
Yeah.
in your role,
Yeah.
in any role in these types of industries, I think. And as you say, we all start a little bit broad,
Yes.
and then we niche down.
Yeah.
And I think then having those people to delegate to in those independent roles is really important as well. Has your definition of success changed since those early Advantage days?
I think it's always changing. I think that, since those early Advantage days, I've got 2 kids and my beautiful husband. So success sort of is changing constantly, but I think it can be defined so many different ways as well, whether there's, success because you've just done an incredible job and your client's really happy. There was a huge amount of pressure, but it's done. That's a great feeling of success. Or there's a new range that's launched and, it's been well received.
Yeah.
So I feel like success is always sort of evolving and changing for me. Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you could go back to the version of you who interviewed me 11 years ago, what would you tell her?
Oh, I think I knew I wanted to do something differently within the space, within the industry, but I wasn't too sure what it was. Probably just to back yourself. It'll all work out. And I didn't really know what Huntley Co was going to be in the early days. I could see there was a gap. I could see there was a need for it, but what it's evolved to now is completely different to, I guess, the vision in the early days. It's so much better than what I had hoped for. So,
and it sounds like, when you say you knew there was a gap.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you went in knowing that this would work.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure exactly how yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really nice approach.
Yeah.
Rather than all structured and then if it goes wrong, you get upset,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was sort of trying to identify where the pain points were for the people that we were trying to service and then how could we try and resolve them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we always wrap up with 3 questions in under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So question 1, if your personal style had a theme song, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I'm actually about to embark on a pretty big renovation myself. We've just bought this beautiful old Art Deco house, which we're about to renovate.
Amazing.
And if I think about the renovation, I'm wanting to honour the classic old elements to it.
Yeah.
But give it a bit of a contemporary twist. So where does that go with the song? Do you know Spooky by Dusty Springfield?
No.
It's an old song. It's from like the 60s.
We'll have to play it on the background.
You'll have to play it. It's obviously an older song, so it's got like a vintage feel to it. My style is not vintage at all, but it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's timeless. That's probably more what it is.
Love that.
The house that we're about to embark on a renovation is timeless.
Yeah.
And that's what we're wanting it to be at the end. I think that I like my style to be a little bit more classic. I'm not as drawn to the really modern contemporary side of things. So I guess in a song that's yeah.
Question 2, what's one item in your warehouse you can't live without?
Tape measure.
Oh,
Definitely a tape measure.
I was thinking a marble side table.
A tape measure. I've been caught going through customs a few times, when you put your bag through and they're like, you need to take that out. What is it? I'm like, oh, it's the tape measure. Sorry.
You're like, I actually can't take that out. I need that.
To stay. Yeah. Yeah.
That and bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Okay, question 3. If you could style your own dream home using only pieces from your collection, what would be the first thing you choose?
Well, that's like picking a favourite child.
No go.
We actually just got this gorgeous new piece in. It's called the Morgan Occasional Chair. It's this really lovely silhouette in sort of a chunky, warm brown fabric, which
nice.
I've definitely got that on my vision board for the new house.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being a part of Behind the Design.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely to sit here with you after all these years.
I know. Who would have thought? What I love about Amy's journey is this, that great businesses don't always sit neatly into one category, that supporting other creatives is just as important as being the creative, and that instinct when paired with strategy builds longevity. For those listening, you can explore Huntley Co online and follow along with their work. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Behind the Design to be a part of our community and stay across upcoming episodes landing fortnightly. You can also leave a review or share it with someone interested in what really goes on behind the design. I'm Camilla Ingall, and this has been Behind the Design.